Hello and welcome. Tonight, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke says he will conduct the local government election scheduled for Saturday after High Court ordered the State Electoral Commission to go ahead with the polls. House of Representatives Committee on Review of the 1999 Constitution says none of the 31 requests for state creation met the constitutional requirements. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai say Nigeria's democracy is in grave danger. They're asking Nigerians to speak up, just like the late elder statesman Edwin. And Israel accuses Hamas of violating the ceasefire deal after forensic testing revealed the body returned from Gaza was not that of Shiri Bibas.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's forex reserves dropped by over $300 million, marking the 6th consecutive week of decline.
On sports news tonight, Liverpool will play PSG in a Champions
election in Osun State, and it appears all is now set for the elections as the state's Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Wale Jimmy Bada, confirms that the state government has received notice of a ruling from the Osun State High Court sitting in Ilesha, affirming the vacancy of local government chairmanship and councillorship positions across all the 30 local government areas, as well as the area offices in the state. Speaking at a press conference in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, Mr. Jimmy Bada states that the court's judgment mandates the State Independent Electoral Commission to fill the existing vacancies through a democratic process.
Another of these honorable courts is granted, directing, mandating, and compelling the defendant to fill the vacancies across the 30 local government areas of Osun State through a democratic process by proceeding to conduct the local government election already scheduled by the defendants for 22nd of February 2025. Number 3, another of these honorable courts is granted, directing, mandating, and compelling all the security agents comprising of Nigerian Police, the Nigerian Army, the Department of State Security Services, that's DSS, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, the National Drugs and Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, the Amotekun Corps, the vigilante groups, etc., to provide adequate security and maintain peace and order before, during, and after the local government election scheduled by the defendant for 22nd February 2025 in Osun State. That was a judgment delivered by the Osun State High Court today and as forwarded to me by OSEC. The governor of Osun State is law-abiding and cannot go against the judgment of the Osun State High Court just highlighted. More so, OSEC is an independent body. No government, no state government has a control over the affairs of OSEC. It's just like the federal government cannot control INEC. State government cannot control OSEC.
And still on the Osun local government election, in spite of appeal by the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, to the Governor of Osun State to shelve Saturday's local government election, Governor Ademola Adeleke has affirmed that the election will hold unfailingly on Saturday, February the 22nd, 2025, under the supervision of the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission. According to a press statement by the spokesperson of the governor, Olawale Rasheed, Governor Adeleke made this assertion while receiving a delegation of civil society groups who are set to be in the state to monitor the local government election. On the controversy over the election, Governor Adeleke says that democracy is governed by rule of law and that nobody can assume the authority of the courts. Part of that statement reads, "My advice to all parties, including local and national stakeholders, is to abide by democratic norms. As for me and my people, we stand by the rule of law, not illegal self-help. Election is going to hold, and the outcome will be a fast-tracked development at the local level. I urge our people to remain peaceful. Osun is a truly peaceful state." Meanwhile, Governor Adeleke has ordered the restriction of vehicular movement from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, February the 22nd, 2025, across Osun State. In the meantime, the Nigeria Police Force say it has received credible intelligence indicating a likelihood of violence and significant security threats should the planned local government election proceed in Osun State. Well, that statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, explains that reports gathered from joint intelligence gathering reveals that various groups, including political elements and other interested parties, are mobilizing to instigate unrest, disrupt public peace, and undermine the democratic order. The statement adds that given the imminent threats to security, the NPF strongly advises the Osun State government to suspend the planned elections forthwith in the interest of public safety and national stability. The statement further adds that the force has assessed the current situation and the landscape, determined that proceedings with election under these volatile conditions could escalate into widespread unrest, endangering lives and property. The force is, however, restating its preparedness to take decisive action to prevent any breakdown of law and order. Away from the Osun State matters on election now, there may be conflict brewing in the People's Democratic Party as there are two conflicting court orders concerning the PDP South-South Zonal Congress, which is scheduled to hold in Calabar this weekend. The suit sought to stop the defendants from calling for and holding the South-South Zonal Elective Congress in Calabar. In Port Harcourt, a High Court sitting issued an interim injunction restraining the People's Democratic Party and the suspended National Vice Chairman South-South, Dan Obi, from conducting the party's South-South Zonal Congress, which was scheduled to hold in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, on Saturday, February the 22nd, 2025. The presiding judge, Justice G.V. Obomono, ruled in favor of the claimants following submissions by their counsel Emeka Ojoko. The court ordered the defendants, along with their agents and representatives, to hold any preparation for the Congress until the hearing and determination of the motion on notice for interlocutory injunction. Meanwhile, in the nation's capital, Justice Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has refused to grant an ex parte order stopping the Congress. The judge refused to grant the prayer filed by Desmond Oweyi and Osahon Okonedo as plaintiffs in the PDP National Chairman Eliya Damagum, the PDP South-South National Vice Chairman Dan Obi, and the People's Democratic Party as the first, second, and third defendants, respectively. However, the presiding judge declined to grant the request, instead ordering both parties to maintain status quo as of the 20th of February 2025, while adjourning the motion to the March the 4th this year for hearing of the pending motion on notice. And in staying on River State, regardless of the battle for the soul of the State House of Assembly, the Speaker, Victor Okojumbo-led Assembly, has already commenced oversight functions to ensure accountability and stewardship by local government chairmen. The House is visiting various local government areas in turn to assess how their allocations are being utilized. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama reports.
In line with the constitutional provision that allows state houses of assembly to supervise the usage of allocations by council chairmen, the Victor Okojumbo-led River State House of Assembly has begun a tour of local government councils. This particular visit by the House Committee on LG Affairs takes them to LMA LGA, where they are received by the chairman at the temporary council secretariat. Speaking before the inspection, the Deputy Speaker of the House, who is also the chairman of the House Committee on LG Affairs, Adolphus Timothy, who led the entourage, explains that the oversight function is not aimed at witch hunting, but to ensure efficiency at the grassroots level.
I'm sure you are aware that you are holding a public office, and to this end, that all funds accruing to this office is also in the public media domain. In view of the above, we have come here to see those funds we received within these 100 days in office, how well you have been able to translate it into projects and other meaningful things for the good people of Emefiele.
Responding, the chairman of the council, Brain Gokba, narrates his ordeal of resuming office just when the destruction of the council secretariat happened due to post-election violence. He, however, says a new council secretariat is under construction alongside other people-oriented projects.
Let me once again welcome you to our government and also apologize to you to keep you in this kind of environment. You know that the reason is because of the incident that took place on the 6th of October last year. We are enemy of progress and agent of darkness under our council. However, we are not deterred from doing what we have to do because we have to our leadership. So we have done and completed 400 meters complete main road of the Yadi Road.
Next is the inspection of the ongoing council secretariat project site. Speaking shortly after the inspection, the leader of the Oko Jumbo-led River State House of Assembly, Good Boy Sukari, while commending the chairman, frowned at the vandalism of some LGAs last year.
We know that it is a setback to the enemy people in general because resources and funds that are meant for other meaningful activities will be going for recruiting and refurbishing of what we should have been using until when there was enough resources for us to think of that. When we were yesterday, we met the same thing and we were surprised. We said, well, one day you can see everything was quiet, but when we went there, everything was vandalized for 3 months by the police. But we kept guys from operating within their office.
The House says it will carry out the same exercise in all the 23 LGAs of the state. Deborah Abalama, Channels Television News.
If you're one of those expecting the creation of new states from the 31 proposals recently submitted to the National Assembly, you may have to tarry a while. This is because the committee saddled with the responsibility of vetting those proposals has announced that none, yes, you heard that right, none of the 31 proposals met constitutional requirements. This was announced by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, during a 2-day retreat in Ikotepwene in Akwa Ibom State. According to the Deputy Speaker, despite the setback, the committee has extended the deadline for submissions to March the 5th, 2025, to allow communities revise their proposals.
A governor or a president, where there is a major division in the political party.
Someone are going to tell us these are the proposed amendments. This is justification.
Has given the conductors the opportunity.
Allow the drafters to amend that particular document in line with
the center plan and with the support of the UK.
Because there are what we should prioritize thematic area, lead the debate. And they all refused. Only one of everybody's
among them.
In part 2, after the break, Federal High Court in Lagos orders final forfeiture of cash and properties allegedly linked to former Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Edwin Emefiele. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke says he will conduct the local government election scheduled for Saturday after a High Court ordered the State Electoral Commission to go ahead with the polls. House of Representatives Committee on Review of the 1999 Constitution says none of the 31 requests for state creation met the constitutional requirement. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai say Nigeria's democracy is in grave danger. They're asking Nigerians to speak up, just like the late elder statesman Edwin Clark. And Israel accuses Hamas of violating the ceasefire deal after forensic testing revealed the body returned from Gaza was not that of Shiri Beers. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai say democracy in Nigeria is in grave danger. They are now calling on well-meaning Nigerians to emulate the courage of the late elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark and speak the truth for the unity of Nigeria. The two men were speaking during a visit to the residence of the late Chief Edwin Clark in Abuja to condole with his family.
Condolence messages continue to pour in from prominent Nigerians as they visit the family of late elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark in Abuja. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, in the company of former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai, are among the latest to pay condolence visit on the family. The condolence register stationed at the entrance of the building is their first port of call. The former vice president and his entourage then proceed into a session with the family of late Edwin Clark, where they paid him glowing tributes. Beyond the tributes, both the former governor of Kaduna State and the former vice president raised concern over what they describe as threats to democracy in Nigeria and call on citizens to emulate the courage of the late elder statesman.
As a country, our democracy, our nation are in great danger. And all people of goodwill need to come together to ensure that we have a leadership that will make this country better for everyone, not just for a few.
Before he died, immediately before he died, he kept on saying, I'm a Nigerian, I'm a Nigerian, I'm a Nigerian, I love Nigeria. And I think this is a very, very strong message to all of us, to make sure that we maintain the unity of this country.
Other dignitaries will also pay tribute to the leader of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, include the governor of Taraba State and the managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC.
Your country first. That is what has been in him. Nigeria first. Before his region and then before himself. So every politician, every leader should have the fear of God. And then the nation first.
We have the pandemic, which is a sociocultural organization that brings all the Niger Delta ethnic nationalities together, which is one of its legacies. So it's left for those of us who are alive to keep his legacies alive.
Late Chief Edwin Clark is a strong voice who, until his demise on Monday, February 17, 2025, championed the cause of the Niger Delta region. Many say he will also be remembered for his call for justice, fairness, and a united Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborewori, has also been visiting the family of Chief Clark, but this time in his hometown in Kiabodo, Burutu local government area of Delta State. During his visit, the governor expressed his heartfelt sympathy to the bereaved family in the community and the entire Ijaw nation, assuring them of the state government's full support throughout the burial arrangements.
I extend my deepest condolences to the family of Ike Clark, the people of Kiabodo, the Ijaw nation, and the Niger Delta over his demise. Papa is somebody that is a household name in this country. He has lived a very fulfilled life. Man with integrity, very committed. He has left indelible mark on this nation. I don't know how, because if you look around in there today, you can't even see anyone that is vocal like him. When I went through his book, Brutally Frank, you will know. A man with memory. At 97, he can tell you, say, look at this place. Look at this place. He will tell you the story. What happened in the 50s, what happened in the 60s. Even we that are young today, we don't have that kind of memory. It's somebody, when you call your name in this Niger Delta, it will tell you the history, the lineage of your family. We're able to say it. So it's somebody that very good and courageous. I want to assure this family today that as governor of Delta State, we stand behind this family and his nation throughout this period.
We head to the courts now. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has ordered the permanent forfeiture of $4.7 million, 830 million naira, and multiple properties allegedly linked to the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Edwin Emefiele. Justice Yelin Bagoro, in a judgment delivered today, also ordered the final forfeiture of investments worth $900,000 traced to one of Emefiele's close relatives, Anita Joy Omoile. The court also ordered the final forfeiture of another $4.4 million worth of investment traced to the Deep Blue Energy Services Limited, as well as another sum of 283 million naira, 20,000 euros, and 1,999.5 pounds traced to Extaport Bureau de Change companies allegedly linked to Ms. Omoile. At the instance of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Justice Bagoro granted the final forfeiture of all the funds to the federal government of Nigeria after holding that they were proceeds of unlawful activities. And staying with the courts, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, today arraigned 15 Chinese nationals and a company, Genting International Company Limited, before Justice Daniel Osiago of the Federal High Court sitting in Ikoyi, Lagos. The defendants are part of the larger 792 persons arrested in December 2024 in Lagos for alleged cryptocurrency investment and romance fraud during a setting operation tagged Eagle Flush Operation conducted by EFCC operatives. They were arraigned on separate charges bordering on alleged cybercrime, cyberterrorism, possession of documents containing false pretense, and identity theft, among other things. They all pleaded not guilty to the offenses. In view of their pleas, the EFCC asked the court for trial dates and for the defendants to be remanded in the appropriate correctional center. Justice Osiago adjourned the matter till June 11, 2025 for trial and subsequently ordered the remand of the defendants at the Ikoyi Correctional Center. The news at 10 continues now as we head over to Abuja studios where Millicent Walker is standing by. Hello, Millicent.
Hi, Anne. Lovely to see you. And here we continue the fight against financial crimes. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ola Olukayode, has appealed for the repatriation of proceeds of crimes belonging to Nigeria held by some countries of the world. Mr. Olukayode made the appeal today in Abuja during the handover of the recovered proceeds to the embassies of Spain, Switzerland, and the United States of America on behalf of the victims. During the handover ceremony in Abuja, the EFCC chairman explained that it is part of efforts to strengthen international partnerships in the fight against financial crimes.
We are here this morning to demonstrate that according to the mandate of EFCC, the federal government of Nigeria, through Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, is ready to do everything possible to prevent financial crimes from being perpetrated in our system. And where it has become a bit practically impossible to do that, where one has taken place, to investigate, where asset is involved, to trace, to recover, and where necessary we need to prosecute, to also prosecute. We don't just recover, we also recover to restitute the victims. And what we are doing here this morning, we are here to restitute those who are being victimized, as it were, through the perpetration of economic and financial crimes. And it's important for us to know that within the purview of our laws, if you are a recipient of process of crime and you sit over it, you are an accessory to the fact. And it is important to also know that once process of crime is recovered, the most responsible thing to do is to restitute the victims.
And to other stories, the federal government has secured a $2.5 billion investment commitment from a global player in the livestock industry. This was disclosed by the Minister of Livestock Development, Mr. Mukhtar Maiha, during the ministerial press briefing in Abuja. Mr. Maiha said that the investment will be used to develop the sector and boost its contribution to the national economy. Our correspondent Benny Ark has more.
Development commissions again created.
The Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation has commenced the second edition of its ministerial briefing session, featuring the Ministers of Livestock Development and Regional Development. Aside from the ministers, permanent secretaries, heads of agencies, directors of ministries, distinguished guests, and members of the press.
Ministry of Livestock Development.
The briefing provides a platform for ministers to highlight the key successes of the Renewed Hope agenda.
This is one of the efforts of the Tinubu administration to ensure that Nigerians are always informed as accurately, as honestly, as transparently as possible about all programs and policies of government.
Taken to the podium, the Minister of Livestock Development outlined some of the plans of the ministry.
Our intention today is to make sure that we have hybrid bulls at 30 months that can weigh 600 kg. And that is the slaughter weight. At 30 months, minimum 2.5 years. That's what we are looking at. That is our goal, and that is what we are going to do. We are also looking at holistically looking at the current contribution of livestock to GDP, which is a minimum of 5%. Our intention today is to be able to double that number in the not distant future, so that at least we can have not less than 10% contribution of livestock to the GDP.
Next is a turn of the Minister of Regional Development.
By the time we took over, we inherited a number of projects that were ongoing in the ministry in terms of road construction. And under the policy of the ministry, we are back on the reconstruction and completion of Belegolo-Ogri-Agbene Road, which is in Delta State. We also completed the rehabilitation of Ukwala, Igurucha Road, Phase 1 in Imo State. And in addition, we also initiated projects in order to meet the infrastructural needs of the region.
The Minister of Information explains that more ministers are expected to brief the media on their plans in the days ahead. The idea is to enhance transparency and accountability in governance. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
And still ahead on the news at 10, it's the 6th consecutive week of decline as Nigeria's forex reserves dropped by over $300 million. That's on Business News. To join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10 from our studios here in Abuja. Well, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, is still in the news, but this time he's saying the future, progress and development of the country are dependent on the success of the fight against illicit drugs and substance abuse, especially among the youth. He stated this at the commissioning ceremony of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency barracks and office complex in Yola, the Adamawa State capital, which is meant to accommodate over 500 staff with their families.
Barracks for officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Situated on 18 hectares of land, the accommodation is designated for over 500 personnel of various cadres, including zonal and state administrative officers. The NDLEA chairman, retired General Buba Marwa, attributes the project to the support of President Bola Tinubu, pledging that the effort will inspire officers to direct their energy towards achieving a drug-free society.
This state-of-the-art barracks is a testament to our resolve to win the fight against drug abuse and trafficking in Nigeria. It symbolizes our commitment to the welfare of our personnel and serves as a bold statement of our determination to build a safer nation.
There were words of encouragement from the Office of the National Security Advisor and the Senate.
To the personnel of NDLEA, I urge you to continue demonstrating exceptional courage, resilience, and professionalism in the discharge of your duties.
I would like to restate that my committee remains fully committed in making the agency achieve more of this laudable project and their mandate.
In his remarks, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, says the agency forms an important component in the security architecture of the country.
The establishment of this barracks is a long-awaited yet timely endeavor. It aligns perfectly with the vision of the renewed hope agenda of our President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, who seeks to rebuild every facet of the Nigerian state.
The high point of the event is the presentation of souvenirs to some distinguished personalities. Dignitaries including members of the National Assembly, heads of various security commands, former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, and traditional rulers then embarked on a guided tour of the barracks, which include places of worship, recreation centers, and detention facilities, among others.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's now back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Millicent. The Consul General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands mission to Nigeria, Michel Dillon, has affirmed the signing of the handover agreement of 119 Nigerian artifacts to the Nigerian government, saying that they now belong to the Nigerian government. The Consul General has also said that they are now working with the Nigeria Commission for Museum and Monuments, and tourism is now on its way to Benin City, where they are building a new museum and compensating in terms of capacity building, trainings and workshops. It was a guest on our morning brief program today.
2 days ago, the agreement was signed in the Netherlands, and that's basically the handover of the objects to the Nigerian government. So they now belong to the Nigerian government, and then it's up to the National Commission for Museums and Monuments to let us know when they want to have them shipped, basically. The revenues are generated by people who move around, who are in the areas of the museum, by tourism. And that tourism is now, I would say, on its way to Benin City, where they're building a new museum, where probably another new museum will be built, maybe by the Nigerian government. In that case, we are supporting the Nigerian Commission for Museums and Monuments with training, with workshops, with exchange of information. So we don't say just, you know, here are the objects back and that's it. We continue this discussion with the Nigerian Commission for Museum and Monuments, and not only with them, by the way, because some people said, but you are returning them to the Nigerian government while they were stolen from the Oba, and what about the community in Benin? I was also very pleased to see that the Commission for Museum and Monuments made an agreement with the Oba on sort of the management of this, because they are, of course, part of the community, but we are the Dutch government and we deal with the Nigerian government, but in the end they will find their rightful place where they belong.
The British High Commission is celebrating the homecoming of some of the brightest minds in Nigeria as they return after a period of study in the United Kingdom. Some of the newly returned Chevening and Commonwealth scholars are honored at the special ceremony in Lagos. There are 44 Chevening scholars and 147 Commonwealth scholars and fellows. Our correspondent, Layo Larinde, has more.
Since September 2023, these Nigerians left the motherland to pursue different degrees in the United Kingdom under the Chevening and Commonwealth scholarships. Now they are back to put what they have learned to good use for their country. The The British Deputy High Commissioner, Mr. Johnny Baxter, welcomes these outstanding scholars.
I spoke to you when you were leaving about, as Boma has said, returning particularly, and returning to contribute to your chosen field and returning to contribute to Nigeria. And it is brilliant to see you back. And I've already started hearing from a few of you what your plans are, and I'm looking forward to hearing from more of you what your plans are.
The scholars' research areas range from education and healthcare to sustainable development and technology. Their work has the potential to address some of the country's most pressing challenges.
As a practitioner, I simply want to be contributing to the realistic practice of what it means to create an energy base that also saves the environment. It's as simple as that for me.
It was a great learning experience to not just learn from educators that were just lecturers. They were actively practicing in the industry, and I think it was a privilege for me to be around them, to learn from them. But it was also quite symbiotic because they did respect the fact that I was coming from somewhere different, and my exposure to performance art was very different from what they were teaching because it was very Western. And so there was a level of respect for my experience as well, which I really appreciated, and I did finish with a distinction.
When I got to England, courtesy of Chevening, I actually had a different perspective. Yes, I now have a template, a mental template of how system should work and on how to channel and strategize my advocacy going forward.
The Chevening and Commonwealth Scholarships are prestigious awards that recognize exceptional academic talent and leadership potential. The next few weeks, months, or years will tell the impact the education in UK will have on these scholars and the nation. Layo Olarinde, Channels Television News.
Let's check out Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves now. Dominic Iwewe standing by to take us through the world of business.
Thank you, Anne. On business news, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves have recorded a further dip for the 6th consecutive week. According to the CBN data, gross reserves fell by $300.11 million to $38.74 billion as at February the 20th. This comes as CBN continues its intervention in the forex market, selling $66.8 million to authorized dealers. Meanwhile, analysts expect FX liquidity to remain adequate, supporting stability in the short term. The African Development Bank, AFDB, and Interpol have signed a landmark agreement to tackle illicit financial flows in Africa, estimated at $90 billion annually. The partnership will enhance efforts to fight corruption, money laundering, and cybercrime that threaten economic development. The AFDB president, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, says the collaboration will strengthen financial crime investigations and improve anti-corruption measures across the continent. Interpol Secretary General Valency Urukweza emphasizes the need for stronger digital security as financial crimes become more sophisticated. The agreement focuses on sharing expertise, improving law enforcement coordination, and boosting security frameworks to protect Africa's economies. The Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise has commended the Central Bank of Nigeria for pausing interest rate hikes, saying it aligns with economic expectations. At the same time, the CCPE CEO, Dr. Muda Yusuf, is advocating for future rate reductions to ease business and investor pressure. Dr. Yusuf highlights that inflation has dropped to 24.48%, making it unreasonable for the monetary policy rates to remain above inflation. He also criticizes the 50% cash reserve ratio, one of the highest globally, calling for a reduction to boost liquidity and economic growth. With commodity prices and exchange rates stabilizing, CCPE says it expects the CBN to relax monetary tightening measures in its next policy meeting. The cryptocurrency market saw mixed trading on Friday, with Bitcoin crossing $98,000, while Ethereum and Solana recorded modest gains. The total global crypto market cap rose 1% to $3.23 trillion as trading volume surged 8%. Despite Bitcoin's rise, XRP dropped nearly 2%, highlighting increased volatility among altcoins. Bitcoin's market dominance climbed to 60.31%, signaling stronger investor confidence in the leading cryptocurrency. The domestic equities market closed the penultimate trading week in the red as investors appear to shrug off CBN MPC rates decision. Inijo Mekwa tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, unfortunately, it's been concluded. It's a red week for the NGX. When we look at even the counters, we see that it's more of red. So, for instance, for banking, only GTCO, the figure that survived profit taking today, 0.55%. The banking counter is down, and consumer goods seems to be able to slip out a bit of it because of Dangote Sugar and PZ. They had some buying interest on them. That kept the counter in the green zone, but oil and gas is in the red because of Osun, Japogo, Eterna. After making some profit, investors are determined to make some money from that counter. And so we see there the full gas, just GTCO was able to escape that, gained 1.04%. But the All-Share Index gives us the summary of the market for today. So 44 billion naira shaved off the market cap to close at 67.61. Retaining 108, I guess that's one thing to celebrate, but the Ocean is down 0.07%. So we're going to have the bear having fun on the floor of the NGX until Monday.
And that's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. Israel has accused Hamas of violating the ceasefire deal after forensic testing revealed the body returned from Gaza on Thursday was not that of one of the hostages. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israel has accused Hamas of violating the ceasefire deal after forensic testing revealed that a body returned from Gaza was not that of Shiri Bibas. The 3 other bodies handed over have been identified as her sons, Ariel and Kafir, who would have been aged 5 and 2, and Oded Lifshitz. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu alleged on Friday that Hamas had put the body of a Gazan woman in a coffin. Hamas has not yet responded to this or the IDF claim that the boys were brutally murdered by terrorists in captivity in November 2023. Hamas had previously said the children and their mother were killed in an Israeli bombing. 3 empty buses have exploded on the southern edge of Tel Aviv in what Israeli police say is a suspected terror attack. It happened in parking lots in the city of Bat Yam. There were no casualties. Devices on 2 other buses failed to explode. Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the Israeli military to carry out an intensive operation against centers of terrorism in the occupied West Bank in response. Footage on social media showed at least 1 bus on fire in a parking lot, with a large plume of smoke rising above. Police said officers are still trying to locate more bombs in Tel Aviv. 12 civilians have been killed over the past day after Russian strikes, according to Ukrainian officials, with homes and infrastructure hit. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Prime Minister Volodymyr Zelensky says he discussed the need for reliable and clear security guarantees to end the war during a meeting with Trump's envoy. US envoy Keith Kellogg is trying to persuade Mr. Zelensky to sign a deal which would give the US access to Ukraine's critical minerals, something the president has so far refused to do. The leaders of Hong Kong's Democratic Party have announced plans to dissolve what was once the city's largest opposition group. Members will soon vote on the final decision on whether to shut down the 31-year-old party.
The party has been struggling to survive following moves by China to crack down on dissent in the city in the wake of the 2019 protests. Beijing and Hong Kong's government have argued that such moves were necessary for national security. As part of the crackdown, Beijing overhauled the former British colonies' polling systems.
All in all, I think that is a decision that we made, that we consider the overall political environment in Hong Kong and all those future plans that we can foresee, and that is the decision that we made. And we believe that diversity and inclusion and democracy, all sort of things. These are the basis of one country, two system, and the basis of the basic law.
Planes flying between Australia and New Zealand have been diverted as China conducts a closely scrutinised military exercise in nearby waters that may involve live fire. The rare presence of 3 Chinese naval ships in the Tasman Sea has put both Antipodean countries on alert in recent days, with Australia calling it unusual. Australian airline Qantas said it was temporarily adjusting the routes of its planes, and other carriers have reportedly done the same. China has said the exercise, which is taking place in international waters, is in accordance with international law. The SS United States, once the largest passenger ship built entirely in the US, has been towed from Philadelphia after nearly 30 years. Launched in 1951, this ship was a symbol of luxury and innovation, carrying nearly 1 million passengers before its retirement in 1969. Now on its way to Alabama, it will be intentionally sunk to form the world's largest artificial reef. The transformation aims to support marine life and attract divers to the site. And Elon Musk has spoken at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C. He was later presented with a chainsaw on stage by Argentina's President Javier Milei. Waving the chainsaw above his head, Mr. Musk told attendees that it was the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Milei famously wielded the power tool during his successful 2023 run for Argentina's presidency, a symbol of the deep cuts he has made to the country's state spending.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Well, let's now join Chris Elems to tell us the latest on how the Nigeria's D Tigers are faring at the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket holding in Angola. Over to you, Chris.
Well, thank you, and well, the Nigeria's D Tigers have revived their hopes of securing qualification for the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket holding in Angola later in the year, as they picked a vital 75-70 win against host Libya this evening at the ongoing qualifiers holding in Tripoli. But the Tigers are in a tight situation, having lost all matches in the first window of the qualifiers. They must now win all 3 games in the second window, or miss out in the continent's biggest basketball competition for the first time in 32 years. The men's senior basketball, who have successfully scaled the first hurdles against the Libyans, will file out again against Uganda tomorrow at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And Liverpool will take on Paris Saint-Germain in the last 16 of this season's UEFA Champions League following today's draw, which also pitched Villa against Club Brugge, seeking revenge for their 1-0 defeat against the same opponent in Belgium in the last phase in November last year. Real Madrid, fresh from eliminating Manchester City in the playoffs, will be home in the first leg against Atletico Madrid, who have met in the competition in 4 straight seasons in the last decades, with Real coming out on top every time. Other fixtures in the last 16 include PSV Eindhoven versus Arsenal, Feyenoord versus Inter, Bayern and Leverkusen in the all-German clash. Benfica will be at home against Barcelona in the first leg. Meanwhile, in the Europa League, Fenerbahce will welcome beating 2022 finalist Rangers to Istanbul for the first time or rather for the first leg of their tie, while Ajax will be up against 2022 tournament winners Frankfurt. Spurs will go to the Netherlands for the first leg of their last 16 against AZ. Manchester United have been drawn to play Real Sociedad of Spain, with the Red Devils traveling to San Sebastian for the first leg on March 6. Claudio Ranieri's Roma face a tough task in the last 16 against Atletico Bilbao. Now, barely 24 hours after former head of the Spanish Football Federation, Luis Rubiales, was found guilty of kissing player Jenny Hermoso without her consent, he has failed in his appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport against a suspension from football. Rubiales was banned from all football-related activities for 3 years in the wake of the kiss on Hermoso as she went up to collect her Women's World Cup winners medal in Sydney in 2023. CAS said in a statement that it was dismissing the appeal because Rubiales' behavior constituted multiple and serious violations of the FIFA disciplinary code, and it saw no reason to consider the sanction to be disproportionate. Fast Sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke today said there is no going back on the conduct of local government elections scheduled for tomorrow, in spite of the advice from the Attorney General not to go ahead with the polls. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful weekend. Good night.